Alright, well, we're trying this again. I am live streaming, and I figured out what the finish button does. Thanks, Chantel. And I think I've tidied up my room a little bit. Still have my hand grenade, but you know, never know when that can come in handy. It's a good way to end the show. Anyway, so we've got some 21 minutes before my show starts, so what do I do before my show? Sit here anxiously waiting for it to begin. And of course I boo-booed, so not that anyone knows about it except for poor old Terry. Hey. Hey. Well, that's cool. I can see who's watching me. That's kind of fun. Okay. Yeah, I still got the grenade. And so, yeah, this is 20 minutes before the show, so I'm just going to ramble around. And nice to see you all out there. Ha ha ha. Yeah, 20 minutes. So, this is how it all starts. I don't know if you'll be able to, actually you probably won't be able to hear my guests while I'm talking to them, so you probably want to tune to Voice America Business Channel so you can actually hear them talking as well. It all depends on how I have the speakers set up, and I think I got it set up to come through my headphones so there's no feedback. So anyway, what did I do this morning? I messed up. Well, it's actually not what I messed up this morning, but I got my times confused. Well, not my time, but my guest's time. He's back east. How far back east? Well, I guess an hour further than I had thought. So he thought we were on at 9 a.m., which was, well, would be now. And so we had a missive, and thankfully he is able to still join us at 10 a.m. He's back east, and I guess he's in Montreal. So he's 3 hours ahead, not 2. So that was my bad. So he's going to be joining us again in, what, 20 minutes or so. And of course, Voice America will be calling me as well and establishing the connection. And until then, it's just me rambling, really. So what we will be talking about is security in software. Well, security in general. Everybody uses software nowadays, so it's all about that. It's not about breaking into your house for the key. It's about breaking into your computers and stealing all your data and effectively doing worse damage than what can be done with a key. So that's the whole point, isn't it? Finding out ways to make sure these virtual keys aren't exposed, your data is not compromised, and all the things you hold valuable aren't lost, including your identity, which is a sad thing to lose. So how are we going to break this up? Well, since we've got 20 minutes, I might as well ramble on through and let you know how we're going to talk about the show today, and it gives me an opportunity to warm up my voice and not sound so jittery at the beginning of the show. This has been commented on that the first 15 minutes or so, my voice is, well, not all that clear. So anyway, I am attempting to alleviate that by starting this, well, the first live broadcast. And hey, Clive, how you doing? Oh, look at that, got some friends out there. Isn't that nice? Hey, Ryan, I think Ryan was out there too. So that's all cool. Maybe not anymore. I think Ryan probably will come back online, but hey, Clive's there anyway. Nice to see you, Clive. Well, nice to have you see me. I know I'm kind of boring right now. Anyway, so what was I going to say? Get lost, right? Okay, so what we're going to do, the show actually starts at 10:02. So we're going to talk about cybersecurity. Actually, the first part of the show, I always like to talk about the context. So we're going to talk about the context of security. So kind of what I've just been rambling on about is to what is security and, you know, who are the people or actors involved, and what does Terry, well, no, first we're going to start off and talk about how Terry got started. Terry Cutler is my guest, and he's a renowned security hacker, one of the good guys. He's got a security clearance, works for a lot of interesting folks, and does consulting on how to protect your businesses, and very interesting fella. Let me just have a read through what he is. Well, I always seem to go back to the computer when I got it right in front of me. I think that's just me as a software hack. Oh, hey Flair, you're on there too. Hey, nice to see you. But you know the show doesn't actually start for a while, eh? Thanks, Flair. Another 15 minutes. And anyway, I'm sort of like going off from one place to another. Da 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 da. Well, yeah. Anyway, so we'll talk about the context of security in the first. I'm just rambling, aren't I? I guess this is why I turned this thing on 15 minutes ahead of the show, so I can get this out of my system and get more clear as I talk. So anyway, I was going to talk about what Terry Cutler is. Oh, what's that over there? Gee whiz. Break a leg. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Clive. That's kind of fun. This is kind of interesting. Kind of cool feedback I'm getting. Yeah. It's actually different. You know, I was thinking about this last night. I know I'm going off on tangents and rambling, but I can because it's 15 minutes before the show. Anyway, thinking about this last night. This is like the only time you can actually be schizophrenic, talk to yourself and not be judged as schizophrenic, you know, because you've got cameras on you. So it makes it okay. Maybe not. Anyway, okay, so Terry Cutler, he's a government-cleared cybersecurity expert and a certified ethical hacker, which just means he has a conscience and he helps people out and understand what hackers do. Of course, there's lots of hackers in the news. You know, certain political figures seem to taunt them and encourage them, strangely enough. Why would anyone want to do that? Get somebody to do something for them and claim they had nothing to do with it, perhaps. Interesting. People play on people. Anyway, so back to Terry. He's the Vice President of Cybersecurity at Serco Investigations and Protection in Montreal. So that, I guess, is the reason why he's 3 hours ahead and not 2. I don't know who's all here. Maybe I really am just talking to myself. But I found out what the finish button does, which is kind of cool. So, dum-de-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. I have my coffee. Uh-oh. I'm running low on coffee. Water, coffee, muffins. Can't have my muffins while I'm doing the show. Wow. I think Flair is my only watch right now. Hey, Flair. Yeah, it's kind of boring, isn't it? Just sit here and stare at your brother. But at least you get to see me live! Okay, well, anyway. So I guess I have to behave because this will be taped and rebroadcast. Once I download and edit and take all this rambling out. Oh, maybe that's what I'll do is I'll hit the finish button just before I start. And then I'll have a before the show and the show. What do you think, Flair? Thumbs up. All right, well, anyway, that's the plan. I don't even know how you're hearing me, really. Oh, I bet you it's from my phone speaker. That's how you're getting broadcast sound on. Because I heard the sound on the playback. Look, it heard pretty good. Except, of course, it's my voice. Which, you know. Anyway. I wonder how I can get a cup of coffee around this place. Coffee! Wonder if I can... How on earth can I get my wife's attention? Can I have coffee? Oh well, I guess I'm going to have to wait until I end the show. What do I got to drink? I need some fluids. A little bit of water. That should be sufficient. A little bit of water there. Muffins which I can't eat while I'm on the air, which would be... Well, anyway, we got 10 minutes to go. And my sister's still watching. I haven't bored you yet? Okay, well, hey. I'm actually even videotaping it on a... Oh, I forgot to press record. Okay, well, let's record on this device too. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. So I'm recording on 2 devices, doing a live stream there with you. Flair with you. And down here with my own camcorder. And pretty soon, live on mic. Well, within another 6 minutes, and Voice America should be calling me. I guess I should get my Skype thing ready. Oh, hey, there's Terry. Terry. Yes. The sound guy, I'm just talking to Terry via Skype. Sound guy will call you shortly, usually about, and it's usually about 4 or 3 minutes before. It's really tight, but let's just articulate that. 56 minutes past the hour. I had thought they would call a day or so, a day or so prior. But sometimes, usually, it's just before the show starts. Excuse me. Oh. How about I call you, Terry? Why don't I do that? Or no, if I call him, then Voice of America can't call me or something. I'm really not savvy with Skype. I kind of treat it like a normal phone line, but it's probably not. And oh, let me send that to you. Okay. And they should be calling me any moment now, so let me just quickly send this off to Terry as well. Control V, and send it to Terry. Terry's my guest. I'm just sort of chatting as I'm doing this. Don't send. Yes, send anyway. Subject. Oh, I forgot to put a subject in message. Okay, don't send. Show questions. Oh, and very well, Aaron. How are you doing? Here, let me give you. Do you got Terry Cutler's contact information? Alrighty, let me just grab that. Where the heck is it? Oh, here it is, right here. Okay, and he's on Skype waiting for us. Terry Cutler. Okay, let me just tell them how they're calling you, or you're calling him. If I could only type. What the hell? Okay. Okay, I think we've got Terry on the line now. Hey, Terry, how's it going? That's the way we want to hear it. Okay, awesome. I can hear you perfectly clearly, Terry. This is a really good line. Yes, me too. We're gonna do 4. Okay, thanks, Aaron. The final Yeah, that's no worries. As you can see in my notes there, I've got a bunch of my thought bubbles on it as well. So yeah, but your identity and securing sites, your websites and your home sites. Your home, yeah, your house, your personal devices, and that extends, of course, into the social aspect of things as well. Your Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever else people seem to expose themselves through. And of course, we want to hit on business as well and talk about firewalls and what you see businesses doing to protect themselves. I've seen some really, well, I can consider it crazy, but it's not. It's just what you have to do. I mean, putting these firewall appliances in place, and just the hardware alone just to do sniffing is quite extreme. Right. Yeah, and I think that's where the one company I was working for. This was a while back. It was a online pharmaceutical company. Of course, they're dealing with credit cards and sending out medications. So it was a prime target for Oh, I think we're getting a call. Absolutely ready, Aaron. It, yeah, I got in Skype there, Terry. He sends out little text messages so that we know when commercials are coming. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Have you ever stopped to think that virtually everything we use in our daily lives is based on technology? Even further, do you understand the software behind this technology? Welcome to The Art of Software with Martin Lacey. In today's program, you'll hear how software is created and implemented, why it's written the way it is, and learn from its success stories, proven best practices, and significant failures. Now, here is your host, Martin Lacey.
Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm Martin Lacey. This is The Art of Software. In today's show, we're going to be talking to Terry Cutler, who is a certified a government cleared security expert and ethical hacker. He's also the Vice President of Cybersecurity at Serco Investigations and Protection in Montreal. 3 hours ahead, not 2. That's my mistake. Sorry, Terry.
How are you?
That's an inside joke. I'm doing well, Terry. Yeah, I messed up this morning, and I thought Terry was only 2 hours ahead, but in fact he's 3. So thankfully he's still able to join us today. And thanks very much for joining us, Terry.
My pleasure.
Terry has had an exciting career. He's moved himself into the cybersecurity world, and joins the elite as a ethical hacker. And he's got some great insights as to how consumers as well as businesses can protect themselves, who these guys are. We've heard about them in the news. Various organizations are manipulating and using hackers of varying degrees to push their aims. And there's all kinds of stuff going on with hackers, and we've heard about Fancy Bear and so forth. So let's sort of jump in with Terry, and Terry, if you could tell us how you got started in this and how you came about to being in this really cool position you're in.
Sure. Well, I've always been passionate about computers since I was 10 years old. So I've always been the go-to guy at school where kids would come see me for, they want to get cracked games or like, remember the days of Leisure Suit Larry?
Yes, yeah.
They come to me for tips and fix their computers and whatever. And they always kept calling me this hacker all the time, hacker, hacker, hacker. In fact, even in my yearbook, it says claim to fame hacker. And over the years, I got inspired by watching shows like CSI and 24. I'm like, how does Chloe O'Brien break in all these systems so fast? And then I found out there was actually a course called the Certified Ethical Hacker that was fairly up and coming at the time. But this is back in 2005.
Okay.
And so this course teaches you the same techniques as the bad guys used to break in, except you're using these skills for good. And then I got super passionate about educating both businesses and consumers on how to protect themselves online against hackers.
So you attended the course, you started educating businesses, and it just kind of grew from there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously at the time, no businesses cared about it, right? So I was like, oh, you're trying to instill fear in us, it's FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yes.
And same for consumers, and it's still true today. Like, nobody wants cybersecurity until it's too late. So I'm trying desperately to kind of stir up and show them the problem in advance before it's happening. But, they're still in denial that it'll never happen. They're catching on, though, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, there's always seems to be this denial. It won't happen to me. It's like insurance in an accident. It's always the other guy. It's not me. And you're depending on what I've always described as security through obscurity. Mm-hmm. No one's gonna bother me because I'm just hiding in a corner, and they'll be going after bigger fish.
That's right. And now there's a new law coming out now. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but it's like a breach disclosure law. So here in Canada, if you get breached, you are supposed to report it or else get fined.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that at a personal level or just business level?
Business level, from what I understand.
Okay. So then at that level, I guess the push would be certainly for public companies to ensure that their perimeter is well secured.
That's it.
Yeah, you don't want to have that public face of a public company be tarnished, right?
But then you have so that's a double-edged sword too, right? Because when you hear what happened to Winners and HomeSense and all these guys that got hacked years ago, you would expect these guys to shut their doors, right? And or the payment processors would have cut them off. Instead, they just got fines, and in fact, they even made money on it.
Oh, really?
Well, consumers didn't care. They have a short-term memory.
Yes.
Or even Equifax, right? Their job, they earn a living off of fraud. So here they are, they get hacked, and now there's another news report that they lost another 2.4 million Canadian or something like that today. I have to check that identities, but so here they are. They get hacked. Oh, we're so sorry. So let us put you on some identity fraud protection, which also belongs to them.
So they're turning the engine.
Yeah. So here they are giving you 1 year of identity protection, but then the following year, if you're paying whatever $15 a month, it's like they're earning several millions of dollars in profit because of this.
Wow.
And the consumers are left hanging holding the bag.
That just doesn't sound ethical at all.
Well, there you go. So how are you going to fix that part,
Yeah. How would you approach that? I guess bringing more businesses that supply that level of infrastructure.
It's so hard. It's so hard because there's so many ways now to hide your tracks. I mean, we often come across companies that say we're doing an intrusion test on them, and all of a sudden we found out that they may have been hacked before we got there, and we see traffic coming in from let's say a BitTorrent network in their environment, but we don't know who's coming in, who's going out, where it's coming from, and the only thing you can do is block it. But did they install another backdoor somewhere? So it's
that's the problem. Once it gets started, it's they can start installing and building their own infrastructure on your network.
That's it. And then on top of it, the client says, well, I only want to pay you on results. You can't even guarantee that.
Well, I guess you can the first result is, hey, look at the traffic. That's not yours, and it's on your network.
That's it. Exactly. What
So-
are they doing? I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, then they'll say, well, what are these guys doing on my system? Like, I don't know. They may have leaked out all your confidential data for all I know. And a lot of times the companies don't even have the technology in place to even detect it or even monitor what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Or their logs are not enabled.
so many things that they need to address, and it's just like where do you start? So that's what I think we want to focus on in this first few minutes is before we start protecting the business, who are these guys? Like, is there a way to identify the different types of hackers? I put up the broad stroke of saying white hats and black hats. White hats being the good guys, the ethical hackers. Black hats being various levels of miscreant who's trying to subvert your system for personal or business gains or political purposes, even social gain. Hey, I hacked it.
It's a really good question, and really the answer is anybody can do it. I mean, I can even, if I want to have a secondary income, I could load up. I can buy a ransomware kit offline, and online, and launch my own attack against random people, and get paid anonymously, and they'll never find me. So
Really?
Well, it's because the whole payment system, the whole BitTorrent, and the whole Bitcoin process of payment is all anonymous. It's untraceable.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big problems with Bitcoin and some of the cryptocurrencies is that untraceability, and I think we talked about that in a couple of shows ago about blockchain. I mean, blockchain's awesome because it provides that transparency, but Bitcoin, on the other hand, is an implementation of it, which in some instances, in a lot of cases, it's there to hide the identity of people.
That's the point. And then, like, a lot of times you'll hear reports, it's always the Russians or the Chinese that are hacking us, and or from India. And a lot of times there's a reason for that, because most of these countries, they have an income of $500 a month. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and now imagine you're earning $500 a month, and you start launching ransomware attacks, and all of your victims are paying you $500 to $1,000 a shot. Now you're earning $5,000 a month.
And it's cross country.
Right. So if I'm a victim here in Canada, it would cost me $20,000 to $100,000 to hire lawyers, get investigations in place, and go overseas or wherever it is to investigate that. So why would I spend tens of or hundreds of thousands of dollars on a loss of $1,000 when I should be putting that back into my own company and protecting myself better with training?
Right.
So you're just going to write off $1,000, and they know that.
Wow. So it becomes almost a cost benefit situation. Might as well just pay them off. And of course, if they're coming from a third world or second world, first world country, could be down the street. If you can hide your identity. Wow. Talk about a revenue stream. And of course, a nasty one at that, but still allowing people to do that is...
and same as, when they get hacked, they think the first thing that the victim is going to do is, well, I'm going to call the police. And they're going to find out soon enough that the police don't have the time or the resources to help you. They're not going to go and spend all their resources because you lost $500 or $1,000.
Right.
So, and even if they had the money, say it was a $1 million fraud, well, it's almost impossible to track back folks that are coming over BitTorrent.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've used BitTorrent years ago, and the only time I thought it was handy was for getting hold of hacked software applications and things like that.
Yeah. So the way the whole Tor system works, which is TOR, it stands for the onion router. And what's happening is you enter this network, and you're going through between 3 and 10 networks to hide your tracks.
Okay.
So all of a sudden now you come out into the victim's network with a specific IP address. Well, say you try to track back that IP address, so it's going to come back and say, well, you're just a Tor exit node. And there's a good chance the logs are not even on that system. They've always been erased, or they're not logging it. and there's maybe 5 to 9 other layers of networks that you've come through, so that they still have to investigate.
Log upon log, layers upon layers of logs.
Yes.
And of course, if they're not kept in sync, and they're all on personal computers or routed.
And they're scattered. They're scattered across the globe. So now if they have jurisdiction issues to go and get those servers.
Right.
It's right now. Like cybersecurity for me is such a stressful field. Like it's like everything we're trying to do is not working. To help protect these companies.
Yeah, it's every angle you look at is, oh, there's a bad guy there. Oh, there's a bad guy there. Oh, there's a bad guy there.
That's it.
Holy smokes! This is quite a interesting problem that we're
tip of the iceberg.
yeah, and that's really it. It is the tip of the iceberg, and we're just chipping it away, just a small piece of ice at a time. Yeah. We're going to quickly go to a break here, Terry. Then we'll come back and get into some of the more challenging issues dealing with security and how you protect yourself. So with that in mind, Terry, we're going to take a quick break. Thanks, everybody. Please come back in a couple minutes' time. We'll be back shortly. This is Martin Lacey and Terry Cutler on Voice America, The Art of Software. Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Okay, now I think I've got a question from someone. I'm doing a lot.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Private equity firms have over $1 trillion to invest. They are the biggest funding source for growing companies. Why do they reject 98% of deals? How do you get the right deal for your company? Join Kevin Fechtmeyer and his partners on the Deal Team 6 to uncover the next winning deal and avoid the financial landmines. Deal Junkie, Cracking the Private Equity Code, is broadcast live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
How is your business running? It should be running smoothly, with nary a hiccup, like a finely tuned machine. But if you're like most businesses, yours may be running nowhere close to that. Listen for Operationally Speaking with your host, Sergio Samel. Our program will help you to run your entrepreneurial business easier, better, with less frustration. And by running it well, you're sure to be poised for faster growth. Tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and 12 noon Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
How is your company's marketing plan? Could it use a little help? For most businesses, the answer is yes. Tune in each week to Marketing That Won't Break the Bank. Host Janet Kunst and her guests will show you how and where to bring your marketing to the next level. Each show will feature action strategies that you can implement right away and see results. We'll make this easy for you. Start by tuning in every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio. Voice America Business Network.
You are tuned into The Art of Software with Martin Lacey. To connect with the show today, you may call into 1-866-472-5790. Again, that's 1-866-472-5790. If you'd prefer to send an email, you may send it to m.lacey@LaceyTechnology.com. Now, back to The Art of Software.
Welcome back to The Art of Software. I'm Martin Lacey, and we're talking today with Terry Cutler, a renowned cybersecurity expert who helps businesses and persons manage their security risk, as well as help identify and prevent security breaches. So welcome back to the show, Terry.
Great, thanks.
So in this part of the show, I want to get into detection tools. How do businesses go about protecting themselves? We talked before in the previous segment about BitTorrent and that being used as a means to get into your system. So what kind of tools do you have to detect these breaches? If they're encrypted channels, how do you understand that that's actually occurring?
Well, one thing we got to do is load up tools like Wireshark. This allows us to view the packets that are going in and out of the network.
Okay.
And that's one way. And we can look at the what's called a protocol hierarchy, which allows us to see what kind of channels or what kind of how much traffic is going where. Is there a lot of stuff going over SSH? Is there a lot of stuff going over RDP, like remote desktop? And a lot of the company we're seeing a lot of companies that don't have a lot of up-to-date technology to even stop these types of new trending breaches or vulnerabilities. I see a lot of companies that still run free antivirus. Right?
Yes.
So and that's a question I get asked all the time. Well, what's the difference between a free version and a paid version? Well, all these virus technologies, these antivirus technologies, are all what's called signature-based. They have to update themselves every couple of hours, and then once an attachment comes through in your email or an attack is happening, they have to see, okay, well, what kind of file is this? Is there any known signatures in here? Yep. Oh, there's something, it blocks it. But if there's not, it lets it through. So there's ways now to manipulate these codes to actually bypass the antivirus. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering how do they manage that? Do they change their signature, or is it a dynamic type of configuration? Like how does that work?
Yeah, they'll modify the code. So or what they'll do is they'll fragment the attack. So for example, whenever I do an intrusion test, I have an option to evade antivirus. And what will happen is it'll come in as a fragmented code, and the antivirus will say, "I'm not sure what this is," and let it through, and then I'm in. And but then again, I've also been blocked myself where they had another advanced technology like malware bytes, for example, or another type of malware behavioral analysis tool or software, I should say. The moment I got in and started messing around in the network, the system detected that, hey, this is not normal behavior for this user, and actually cut off my connection.
Oh, okay. So that's where it gets into the behavior, or looking at patterns of usage on the network rather than signature-based.
Absolutely, yeah. Antivirus right now is quickly becoming obsolete. It's still required for frontline of defense for but the newer viruses and stuff are bypassing them.
Okay, if I can draw an analogy, it's going from a lock and key mechanism, which allows you into the building, but once you're in the building, you've got retinal eye scan technology to verify your identity and make sure that whatever you're doing is, something that you've done characteristically before.
Right, and now it's also got sensors on the ceilings and stuff to look at movements and such.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that something that businesses are now adopting, or are they still hesitant about that? Like, at what point do they are they getting into the detection part of the business?
So if we back up for the last 10 years, every time we did an intrusion test, the recommendations were always patch your antivirus, get a patch deployment system in place, and watch what you click on. Right? And then you look at today's recommendations, it's keep your antivirus up to date, make sure you have a patch management system in place, and don't click on any links. It's like it's the same recommendations, right? It's like Groundhog Day 10 years later. But now we have to start looking at other more advanced technologies like honeypots. See, there's ways. Yeah.
Can you talk about honeypots? I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah. So I've been leveraging a technology called active defense since 2013, and this honeypot kind of hacks back in a way, but not hacking back the way you think. The way it works is it does three things to an attacker. It annoys, attributes, and attacks an attacker.
So I'll leave the annoys one.
Yeah. So the way the annoyance works is a hacker will usually launch tools to kind of do a reconnaissance on your network. So it'll run like spiders, right?
Yeah.
And the moment that it hits the honeypot, it'll go into what's called recursive folders. And it'll make the tool kind of loop into these recursive folders. And eventually, after several hours, the log file on the attacker's computer is going to fill up and crash the tool. right? So there's nothing worse than for IT guys' tools to be running all night only to be crashed in the morning.
Yeah, and have no results.
Exactly. So by leveraging these types of techniques, it allows us to notify the company or the administrator saying, hey, you know what, there's an advanced intruder in your system right now. You should get on your toes, like get on guard, you know?
It's kind of like a reverse denial of service.
Right. And then we go into the attribution part where we can set up, let's say, a fake Cisco control panel. And the attacker will get on this and get a pop-up that says, hey, you're accessing a restricted system. We have the right to scan your system for latest patches, scan for antivirus and whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then that's that Java box window, and it says, do you consent? Yes or no? So the hacker's going to say, yeah, I consent. And all of a sudden, I'm going to run a site survey tool on his computer, and hopefully he's running a laptop. And what will happen is it'll scan all the Wi-Fis in his area. So his neighbors will triangulate me within 5 meters of his computer.
I love it.
I will know up to 5 meters. I even know what side of the house he's on or building he's on. And so even if he's coming through a bit like a Tor network, where he's coming through various VPNs and whatever, it doesn't matter because it's his neighbors telling me where he is.
Oh, that's sweet.
And then with the attack part, I would have the capability to turn on his webcam, take a picture, send it back to me and say, yep, it was this guy behind the screen when it happened. But now I just violated a privacy law because these bad guys have privacy laws too.
All right.
So without a warrant, I can't get to that step. And that's a very difficult piece that we're missing in our investigation practices right now is that how do you know that John Doe was behind the screen when this happened?
Right.
I wish I could tell you. And I could have told you, but I'm not allowed to tell you, you know?
Right. I mean, and that's, I guess, where the legal and ethical concerns come into play. I mean, although you're dealing with a bad guy who's obviously done made the first move,
right?
You can't punch him back.
But the beauty is that, you know, if you've documented this system in place that, hey, you know, Mr. Judge, this is our system, right? We have all these pop-ups and warnings that, hey, this is your restricted system. Do you consent? And the hacker consented by clicking yes. So it's kind of like somebody going up to your backyard, hopping your fence, and landed in a bear trap. Oh, shit, well, you just shouldn't have jumped the fence. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's I guess in the States, you know, it's the do not trespass or be shot.
Exactly. Except we're stunning him in this case.
Yeah, we've got stun guns, but still.
Yeah.
Squirt guns.
We've got squirrels.
But they bite.
So that's it. So, I mean, this is a technology that's been around for a couple of years now, but it's so gray area that the laws and the lawyers are not comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So it needs more awareness on this.
Yeah. Are we? I guess we're waiting for legal precedent, or like it seems to really tangle with you know, the nuances of the law rather than the technical aspect of, you know, finding who these guys are. I mean, technically, you know, as you say, we've got the tools. If we can triangulate, you know, at least within our own country boundaries, we should be able to prosecute.
And the other problem with law enforcement is that they're overworked and understaffed, unfortunately. So, you know, a lot of times they'll take sergeants and then that have been on the field for so long. Now you're trying to convert them into cybersecurity experts.
Right.
And it's extremely difficult. So, you know, these guys have another 10, 20 years before they retire or less. And they just, you know, they only use Excel on their computer. That's as far as their training would go, you know?
Right. Being thrust into this whole world of technology where, you know, the evidence is bits and bytes.
That's it.
It's a whole crossing the chasm issue again for law enforcement to try and step up to the game of what's going on in technology space. I never even thought about that. That's an interesting dynamic on it. You know,
and I think what's going to happen is like I work for Circle, right, which is a private investigations firm.
Yes.
And which is kind of like the private police. So what we're expecting to happen is that law enforcement is going to partner with PI firms like ours to offload some of this expertise to folks that do it.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, but the only problem is, like I said, any false move, we can crash the case.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, that's the rub with technology, though. You have to take a step back and think a bit more practically, and you enlist the experts in whatever domain you're going into, rather than trying to acquire those skills.
Yeah.
It's the same in any kind of software development effort. You want to make sure you have the right skills at the right time to do the job, and you don't necessarily have to train the people that you have to do that.
right. I mean, going to talk about the developers, for example. I mean, their job is to build software and get it deployed as quickly as possible within budget.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of constraints on the software side of things, and security is not forefront.
That's it. And then we could talk about the software development life cycles, for example. So that's also something we have to talk about shortly.
Yes. We're going to go for another quick break here, Terry, and then we'll come back and we'll get back into software development and creating a secure environment, and further on to detection and prevention. So
Perfect.
Please continue on with us, with Terry Cutler and myself. It's awesome to talk to Terry and get some of these insights. We'll be right back with The Art of Software and Terry Cutler on Voice America.
Awesome. Okay. So how are you feeling about this so far, Terry?
Think you've seen everything there is to see in online television? Let us surprise you. Visit voiceamerica.tv today for sports, health, business, and more on demand 24/7.
How is your work-life balance? In most businesses, no matter where you are positioned, there is always room for improvement. If you're an executive, learn insight about your business. Are you an employee? Learn how to better work with your team. Even if you're not in business, you can learn where your strengths and weaknesses can be played to their best potential. The Work-Life Balance with host Rick Morris can be heard live every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Today we live in a truly global environment. Business can more easily be conducted now in almost any part of the world. How do you, as a business owner or professional, navigate the ever-changing business landscape? Tune in to Leadership Beyond Borders with host Kimberly J. Lewis. With a worldwide resource of guests, you'll find out what opportunities and challenges surround diverse and virtual organizations. Listen live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. U.S. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
Higher education faces lots of changes. If you are a student, educator, or in the workforce, you'll want to tune into Big Beacon Radio, transforming higher education. Your host, Dave Goldberg, and his guests will explore the innovations that higher education adopts as it reinvents itself. The world of higher education is constantly changing. Stay on top and stay ahead of the rest. Big Beacon Radio, transforming higher education. Listen Mondays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on the Voice America Business Channel.
Sweet.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are tuned into The Art of Software with Martin Lacey. To connect with the show today, you may call into 1-866-472-5790. Again, that's 1-866-472-5790. If you'd prefer to send an email, you may send it to m.lacey@LaceyTechnology.com. Now, back to The Art of Software.
Welcome back. We're talking with Terry Cutler from Cirro Systems. Did I just say that right, Terry?
Circo, SIRCO.
Okay, Circo Systems. They're a security detection and prevention organization to help companies deal with penetration attacks and security vectors. What we want to talk about now is getting a little bit more into prevention. Now, we talked a bit about Cisco systems, and those are fairly big boxes you can put online. all the tools you have in place for deflecting hackers, honeypots. That was quite an interesting concept of honeypots and how those are being used today. Do you see honeypots being more something that even home persons can use on their computers to defeat hackers?
I think it's going to be too complex for the average home user. If there was a commercial product that existed that they can just click a button and then they'll get safeguarded on the fly, that's always been a dream I've had for the last couple of years. So,
okay, so that's still on the not quite possible yet.
Exactly, yeah. So it it all comes down really to the end user. So the goal is to protect the or fortify what's called the human firewall, right? Because a lot of these technologies will kick in after the user did something. So say he clicked on a link he's not supposed to. Well, all of a sudden now, okay, the antivirus is going to kick in to see if what he did was secure and if there's any malicious activity on it. And if their technology is not up to date, the ransomware or whatever is just going to fire off and go, and they're going to be screwed.
Yeah, I'm surprised even today in businesses, the amount of the amount of hacks that actually get through by email, and the prevention is, as you mentioned in the earliest part of the show, was don't click on it.
Exactly.
I mean, what kind of prevention of protection is that?
I have this shirt that says "There's no fix for human stupidity." Yeah. But no, to be fair, the new scams right now are so well done that even I have to second guess myself sometimes when I see them. I'm like, is this really real? Because I was expecting a message, but maybe not that soon. But yeah, that's a problem. If the technology is not up to date, they're going to get hit. So that's where cybersecurity awareness really is key.
Yeah, and that I think it comes down to with all these tools and the mechanisms to defeat them, and you're going past the idea of signatures and scrambling your input so that you can defeat signatures and moving on to patterns and recognizing patterns at a digital packet level. That's all fine and well for a business. Even at a business, that could be a daunting task. But for a person, an individual, to try and protect themselves, and this idea of don't click on this and don't click on that is eventually you're going to click on it.
Well, what happens a lot of times, like you heed the warning of don't click on links from people you don't know.
Yeah.
Yet they receive messages from friends or family that they know because they got hacked. And now you're clicking on. Now you're hacked.
Oh, and that's it. I mean, I see messages all the time from my Facebook friends. And, it's sort of like there's a message that comes from them and they say, it's always on the tech. Yeah, well, the message coming from them is, oh, this is something very interesting for you. And yeah, my friends don't send me messages like that.
That's funny. But no, a lot of times, like the scammers and hackers are not going after the whole Viagra emails anymore, right? They're not sending you the Viagra emails. What's happening now is they're looking at what you're doing online. And say you're at a recent conference. Well, they might send you a message saying, hey, Martin, I see that you're at that conference. I was there last year. Here's a link to my photos. Right. So you might think, well, this is not a scammer looking email. This is legit. And you're going to click that link, and then there could be that link could be weaponized. And so attack you.
So they're going deeper then, not only doing it, breaking up their attack vectors and their signatures and their packets. They're now starting to look at the who they're breaking into and looking at their behaviors.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so you got attackers trying to mold themselves to who you are, and I guess that sort of gets into the whole identity theft attack vector, if you will.
Absolutely. Like, you remember, like, we all used to get the calls from Fred from Microsoft, right, saying your computer has a virus.
Oh,
right? Yeah. To help you. So now what's happening is they're fed up of everybody hanging up on them now. So what they've done is they can infect certain websites that when you visit them, even though it's a legit site, you might get a pop-up with this alarming sound saying, "Hey, alert, alert! Your computer has a virus. Call this number."
Yes.
And people are going to call up thinking it's Microsoft, and then the scammer is going to remote in and infect your machine, and maybe install some ransomware and hold you hostage.
That is, that is not only just something that you hear about. I know somebody who fell victim to that, and they're folks that don't have a lot of computer savvy skills, and they're easy to manipulate, older folks, and it's just terrible. Just the way they can be have fear instilled into them and give up their identity so easily.
That's it. Then I'll get a call, asking me to like my opinion of this while they're on hold with the scammer. I'm like, no, hang up.
Yeah, exactly. Don't tell them anymore. Back away.
But that's the thing, once they get hit with once they get a hack on their system, they become advocates for cybersecurity after. Even though they don't have anything, even if they don't have an idea of what it is, they're like, oh, you need protection. You got to get this stuff up to date. Now I've invested thousands of dollars in technology and equipment to help protect myself or my small business. It takes that little kick in the butt in the pants before they become believers.
Yeah, unfortunately, but at least they're adding to the army of voices that are getting people to be proactive.
Right.
And
there's another scam going around called we've heard the term whaling, but this is called the presidency scam.
Oh.
This is where the CEO will send an email to the CFO saying, "Hey, we're working on a secret project. Please wire $400,000 to this account, and then we'll talk about it at a later meeting." So a lot of times the CFO is not going to question the CEO's decision and wire off the money.
Really?
So that's happening a lot now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's that's taking it right to the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're doing a lot of research. They're not just picking folks off at random. They're doing their homework on these people and making the hacks as plausible as possible.
Right. So it's really getting into spoofing others in your organization to try and break in.
Yeah. Or they'll hack into people's social media accounts, for example. We've seen cases where the attacker will compromise a boss's Facebook account, which is also linked to his business account, and start scamming all of their connections.
Right.
I'm in London. Can you send me some money? But that's why the two-step verification authentication systems are very, very important for all your social media accounts. Make sure those are enabled.
And I think a good point here is to really treat all your social media accounts as an attack vector on your business and on your own personal identities. So you have to make sure that you're secure at all these fronts.
That's it. Because now you have what's called the indirect perception of a breach. For example, say you have a website which is hosted on GoDaddy or Amazon, whatever it is, and it got hacked. Well, people are going to think, oh, Martin's company got hacked. Even though it had nothing to do with your business, it's that perception.
Yes.
So same thing for social media.
Okay. Well, that's so how does one go about trying to protect their social media presence? Is that by just reducing your groups or your public profile, or is there security measures in place that you can adopt?
Yeah, I mean, all these social accounts have two-step verification or two-factor authentication. That's where you are going to enter your username and password, and then a text message will come to your phone with another code, which you have to also enter, which validates that you are the actual account holder. Because the password is something but having that text message on your phone, which is something that you have. So the combination of the three will give you access to the account.
Right. So the thing there for everyone to really take up on is to adopt this two-factor recognition. Make sure that your accounts in Facebook and LinkedIn and all the other social media aspects are you've established that three-way communication with your devices.
That's it. Yeah, and same for websites. If you've got like say WordPress or any other types of sites, you got to make sure that things like iTheme security is enabled, so you can help protect your sites. Because what's happening now is we're seeing a lot of Bitcoin mining malware that's being injected into websites. And what happens is that every visitor that comes to your site gets a code downloaded to their computers. And now all of your clients, all your customers, are mining Bitcoins on behalf of a criminal.
Yeah, I read, or what was pointed out to me, that there was a fellow doing that to all the customers who were visiting their business website.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, okay, so that's distributing your workload for sure.
Innovation in crime is incredible.
Oh, it's just like, okay, well, I guess that's an attack vector. That's something to do.
That's it. Or they'll infect PDF files on their website. So they'll go to a legitimate site, and all of a sudden a PDF will download. And same thing, they'll open it, and if it's weaponized, they might get ransomware, they might get malware installed in their machine, and they'll blame you for it.
Yeah. In the software world, you're always fighting fires, and the breaching of your systems is certainly an awful one.
That's it.
We're going to take our final break here and be back in a few minutes with Terry Cutler, and we're going to go over, continue to talk about security breaches, protecting your business and your personal profile, and what can the software professional do to help at their angle. Everything runs on software; it's all software, so the software professional should have some responsibility in making sure that your systems are secure. So please continue on with us. We'll be back after this break with Terry Cutler and myself on Voice America, The Art of Software.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
It's time to take charge of your own career path. But how do you get started? First, tune in to The Career Confidant with Marie Zimenoff.
Okay.
Each show will feature national business leaders, tips and insight from Marie and her guests, career management tools, and a weekly career smart tip. She'll help you move forward, earn that promotion, get hired into the career you want, and brand yourself. The Career Confidant is broadcast live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
In this fast-paced, technologically driven world of business, the stress can be crushing. It's exhausting business leaders and burning out good employees. It is not enough to work from the top down. We must now learn to work from the inside out. Listen to Innovative Mindful Solutions with Terry Geller. We will discuss ways to transform road-blocking emotions using mindful-based tools you can incorporate into your business and your life right now. Don't stress. Tune in every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel.
Moving forward can be difficult to do sometimes. There is always something going on. Many times, nobody else knows exactly what you're going through. If you are experiencing pain or loss, even something unexplained that is missing in your life, you'll want to tune into Go For It with host Joe Hausman. Joe and her guests will show you laughter and love. Sometimes you just need something a little positive in your week. Make that spot Thursday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time on Voice America Business.
Well, we'll definitely bring this up as well.
From the boardroom to you, Voice America Business Network.
You are tuned into The Art of Software with Martin Lacey. To connect with the show today, you may call into 1-866-472-5790. Again, that's 1-866-472-5790. 472-5790. If you'd prefer to send an email, you may send it to m.lacey@LaceyTechnology.com. Now, back to the Art of Software.
Welcome back to the Art of Software. I'm talking today with Terry Cutler. He's a cybersecurity expert. We're talking about all the various aspects of securing your systems and your businesses and how the perpetrators are getting in at your system and how they're attacking, and the ways of the various escalations of what they're doing, and how software is being protected, and how you protect yourself. It seems like being an escalating cat and mouse game. So with that in mind, Terry, can we talk about software in its creation and distribution? Now, you mentioned while we were on break that there was a new breach, and it's home to software from the distribution level. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. Back in September of 2017, a very famous utility that most IT professionals use called CCleaner was actually breached. What happened was the hackers got into the builder server and was able to install backdoors and Trojans into the actual package. And then when 2 million people downloaded it, they all got infected. So, CCleaner was able to fix that up, but there's a good chance that the malware residents could still be around in people's companies, and they don't know it because they're stealthy.
Right, so that software just sort of sits there and waiting for an opportunity to attack?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. And it's come across a couple of times where if I do a penetration test on a company, and I get access to all their systems, it's come across where I've actually accessed the builder server myself, and I could have installed code in there. And if there's no checksums in place, then the software will get pushed out.
Right, and that's something that we see in software a lot, especially if we're dealing with packages coming from Microsoft. They provide a checksum there, which is an algorithm that does a byte count of all the original bytes in the software update. And of course, it's left to the end user to run a similar algorithm on their system once they've done the download.
Right, it's like a verified publisher. It's like a verified publisher.
Yeah,
but that's exactly what happened with CCleaner. They were still they were still able to get it pushed out via the trusted channel.
Right. So that's the problem, is that the software's been compromised and it's coming from a trusted provider. So how do you get around that? How do you things like code reviews are going to be extremely important. So if you're a developer, a lot of times you don't understand cybersecurity. So your job is to code the application, get it out, or it might be some best practices that maybe you might follow to get some security in there. But it's best practice to get an expert to come in and review your stuff. Because a lot of times, sorry, go ahead. No, please continue.
Because one thing that can happen, and I expect this to happen later on in future large cyber attacks, is what's called logic bombs. This is where a code will get inserted into your software and is programmed to trigger on a specific time and date.
Oh, yeah.
So, things like the stock markets, or I don't know if you ever have you seen the last Die Hard movie, Live Free or Die Hard?
I think I stopped watching them after the third one.
Okay, actually, the last one was actually very good. But basically what happened was hackers were hacking into the traffic systems, the governments, and were able to shut all this stuff down remotely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen stuff like that where they're affecting traffic cameras and turning lights, and all that's very, very practical.
That's it, and that's where we see the future is these countries are not going to start dropping bombs on each other. They're trying to hack into each other's infrastructure. So if ever they want to play a political role, they can just push a button and shut down the power grid, or set off nuclear plants.
Or go into your water plants and mess with the salinity content and toxicity levels.
That's it.
You could do anything. Unfortunately, our show's coming to an end pretty soon, a couple of minutes, and there's just so much more to cover. I just want to talk briefly a bit about software and what the software professional can do. We talked very briefly about the code and making sure you're not executing or this new logic bombs that you're talking about. So that specifically talks to script type languages where you're running code that is injected into you. So those are kind of an injection attack, and SQL injection attacks are one type of that. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah, and the other thing we're going to be worried about more and more often is what's called zero-day exploits. This is where there's a say you develop in Flash. Well, there might be a flaw that hasn't been discovered by anyone yet, but there's a flaw in the Flash code which will allow hackers to compromise your entire system and extract your database. So those are going to be almost impossible to detect because we're not always testing our software all the time, and companies don't want to spend the money to get code reviews done every single check.
Yeah, that's the sad aspect of it. It's pay me now or pay me later. Those code reviews are absolutely critical, and making sure that your code is secure at every level. We've talked previously on previous shows about the layering of software, and if I could bring home any single point to the software developers out there, is that understanding that layering of your software, and that you need to protect at every single layer and not let code leak through from one layer to the next. So that speaks to the code bombs and the SQL injection attacks.
And even if their code is perfectly secure, we've seen this happen before too. They drop in a secure software into an insecure environment, and obviously they're leveraging the same administrator password to be able to synchronize content to the server,
right? And
we'll see an infection happen on one of the servers, and it compromised all of the credentials, and now they can log into your secure server.
Wow.
So it's like we're kind of losing this fight, Martin.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle every way. You just need to keep on applying rigors of discipline, really at the lowest level, at the software level, when we
and awareness training, definitely.
Absolutely. This has been an exciting and I hope an empowering conversation with Terry Cutler today. I hope everyone has gotten some aspect of how to better secure their businesses with our conversation today with Terry. Thank you very much, Terry, for joining us today.
I really appreciate having me. Thank you so much.
It's been an awesome conversation. Please listen in next week when we talk about the do's and don'ts in software, wins and fails, and hopefully we'll touch on some of these more security-related aspects. So again, thanks very much, Terry, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Art of Software. Be sure to join your host, Martin Lacey, again next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 a.m. Pacific Time for another edition of our program on the Voice America Business Channel. Until we talk again, have a great week.
I will, and I'll take it. I'll figure all that out and send it to you. Awesome. Thanks, Terry. It's been awesome talking to you. Take care. Bye now. All right. So that's the end of today's show. I know you couldn't hear everything my guest was saying. I'm not too sure what to do about that. It's a Facebook live feed thing, so obviously you couldn't hear what was going on in my headphones. So I think what you have to do is listen on the radio show as well at the same time. Now, if I play it through my speakers instead of my headphones, you probably could hear it. However, I believe that would cause interference and feedback to the radio station. So that's kind of why, if you want to watch the video feed, which is really just me waving my hands in the air, right? You can do that and listen at the same time. So just a note for future, if you're going to come online and watch me do this show again, which will be fun next week, please do. You might want to tune in on Voice America Business Channel and listen that way so that you can hear my guest as well. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm now going to press that finish button. I didn't know what it did before, but thanks to my experimentation and my daughter's pointing out, it stops the show. So with that in mind, I'm stopping the show. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Ta-ta for now. Live secure, live long.